Hi, everybody. This is Suzette Cotto, and my company, Innovate Social Media, is doing the PR and marketing for Nixon and Dovey. Welcome to the Nixon and Dovey Hangout. Nixon and Dovey is a historical fiction novel written by Jay Curry. Hi, Jay. How are you tonight?
Hello,
Um,
everyone.
and tonight we have a VIP Booster Club member, and we're welcoming Thom Sloan of Austin, Texas. We're excited
Hello.
to have Thom because he has a connection with Nixon Curry. So how are you tonight, Thom?
I'm great. I'm doing well.
Okay. Well, we're so happy to have you and that you've agreed to come hang out with us tonight.
My
Um,
pleasure.
t- Tell us a little bit about yourself and your reading interests, and why that you feel like this is a congruent storyline for you and your particular interests.
Absolutely. Well, I should say that I've always had an interest in history. It's been sort of something that's part of me, always knowing about my connections and my past and my heritage. About 2 years ago, I started a project for my mother as part of a birthday present to take all her genealogic material and try to extend it and fill it out. So I went on Ancestry.com like a lot of people and started working on our family history. And a couple of years ago, or maybe about a year ago, I actually got a note from Jay saying, I think that we're related. And he gave me the whole rationale and all the history he had done, indicating that one of his relatives might be connected to my family. And that would be my fifth great-grand uncle, Robert Sloan, actually married Nancy Agnes Curry. And as I say, it's a little hard to document, but we're pretty sure that that's a valid relationship. So anyway, there was an interest there, and I've always been interested in Southern literature, Southern history. As I say, my family came from the South but moved to Texas in the late 1800s, and so we heard lots of stories as children about the South. I had a grandmother who actually still referred to the Civil War as the War of Northern Aggression. So, as I say, Southern culture was a big part of our family. And I studied Southern fiction in college and read Faulkner and, a lot of those contemporary Southern writers from the early part of the 20th century. And I think there is a very unique psyche and culture in the South. And so when Jay told me he had written a novel about Nixon Curry and Sarah Caldwell, I thought, gosh, it's something I want to read. It's something I want to, find out more about.
So, who wouldn't want to know more about their ancestors? I think that's an exciting thing to discover, and I think it's great that you met on Ancestry.com because you see advertisements for it, but you never really get to follow through and find out people, how they really apply that to their lives and how things come together for them. So this is exciting.
Yes.
So getting into the novel, is there one of the characters that had a special meaning for you?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question because as I say, somebody who spent a lot of time studying literature and doing a little writing, I think the book is well written and the characters are well developed and they're all interesting and very real to me. As I say, I think Jay really does a great job of bringing alive Southern culture in a historical way. I have to say, I loved Sarah Caldwell. I mean, she was, a little reminiscent maybe of, Scarlett O'Hara, that kind of fiery, independent Southern woman kind of thing, going against tradition a little bit, defying her father's wishes, those kinds of things. You can't help but admire somebody like that. Of course, the main character, Nixon, is, I think very engaging. I mean, lots of different aspects to his character, not just the athlete and the excellent marksman, but, also genuinely kind and concerned and shows a lot of compassion. I mean, there's really some great characters in the book, but probably Nixon and Sarah are my favorites.
Yes. They're quite complex, and that's why we like them, because we can find something in each one of their interests or the things that mean something to them. We can relate to it. Was there a scene that particularly sticks in your mind or that was memorable? What one thing really stuck out for you?
I love the scene where Nixon sees Sarah on the street for the first time and follows her into the dress shop, goes into the dress shop and, kind of really engages her and introduces himself in a very a bold and at the same time very, kind of compassionate way. I mean, asking, I want to buy this hat, and could you try it on? I'm not sure it'll fit. I just thought, that's a ploy that's been used a lot.
He was working it, wasn't he? He was really working it.
But it worked. I mean, as I say, to me, it came across as very sincere and something that I could really see someone like him doing. So I thought that was a great scene. I loved it.
Suzette?
Yes.
Just remind Thom that Sarah was the Sloan. We're talking about Dovey.
Okay.
Oh, Dovey. I'm sorry. I keep saying Sarah. I'm sorry.
Of course you would. You're Sloan. By the way, my mother was a Sloan.
Yes, I know. I keep talking about Sarah. It's Dovey. I've got Sarah on the brain here.
Not a problem. That's a great scene. I loved writing that scene. It was just a lot of fun. I could play with her and her personality and character. Of course, she's with Ben, who's kind of stuffy and cocky and egotistic, and then Nixon comes along, and it's just fun.
It's the complete opposite, I mean, that whole idea of, she wanted to marry for love. She wanted to be with somebody that she really cared about. And of course, it's a classic story, but it still works.
Absolutely.
Well, back in those days, women were not independent thinkers.
Oh, absolutely not.
That was, to me, I know this isn't my interview, but I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. We're going to have women readers, we're going to have male readers, we're going to have people from different age groups and multiracial groups, and it speaks to everybody when you have a strong character. But I think she was an exceptional character, because we all know that at that time period in our history that women were second-class citizens, and they tried to do that with Debbie, but it was not successful.
Debbie, right?
She got her way.
That's Debbie. She would not be happy.
Yeah. No. So we talked about the weaving of the American Indian culture into the novel, and during certain times that Nixon and another character, Latta, were working with the Indians. Latta was fearful of them, and Nixon was not. I wonder if you could maybe speak to that, or tell us why you think Nixon was not afraid and others were.
Well, I mean, that's again, I think that's an interesting part of how Nixon's character was developed, is that he was very accepting, obviously, I mean, because of his relationship with the slaves and his relationship with the Indian people. He seemed to treat everyone based on who they were as human beings, not what their status was within the social order. And again, I mean, that just serves to make him an incredibly appealing character. It adds a lot of humanity to him, that sort of thing. As I say, I was really glad to see how the Native American, influence was included in the novel, because, again, looking back historically, of course, that was an ever, present sort of issue for people. They were literally invading territory and living side by side with Native Americans from the beginning of this country, and there had to be those interactions. In fact, As I've followed my own family heritage, there's definitely those times where you can see where folks have intermarried with Native Americans and that sort of thing, and there was a a real changing of attitudes, I think, over time, but it was slow, and so to see at this early period, such a close relationship with a tribe of Indians who were, in the area. Again, I think that sort of sets Nixon apart as a very special character.
And so part of the storyline as well was how Nixon was into horse racing, and he worked with the Indians to develop his skills. And how did that horse racing storyline speak to you?
I was surprised by it, honestly, because I had never thought about horse racing having any real, but again, you look at it historically, horse racing has been present, and it was present in the British Isles and Scotland, Ireland, England, where all these folks mostly came from. So it's been a big part of that culture and that heritage. Of course they would bring it to this country, and of course it would be there, but it's not something you see often in some of these historical novels. I thought it was great that it was such a centerpiece of Nixon and Dovey, that this guy was a championship racer as well as a championship marksman. As I say, still willing to learn how to be better and to kind of beat his competition through his relationship with his Native American friends, and learning from them, and kind of absorbing their knowledge of generations to be a better rider and a better racer. So I thought it was a great element of the story.
So we have Nixon Curry to thank for big hats and mint juleps, right?
Apparently, who knew, right?
We appreciate that. We appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, Jay, is there anything else you want to say before we conclude the interview, and tell us a little bit maybe about where the book is in the process and what we can expect here soon?
Sure. First of all, Thom, thank you. We've communicated through Ancestry.com for, I don't know, months, if not a year. We've never really met, don't know each other, but this has been a real delight because we have a common ancestor. I can show you that Nancy Sloan did indeed marry, or Nancy Curry did indeed marry Robert Sloan. So we do have that common ancestry. On the horse racing, by the way, Nixon was well known for his skills as a jockey. Of course, in those days, they didn't call them jockeys. Jockey term and things was just developing about that time in I believe, South Carolina. But he was very well known for that. Won a lot of money by racing his horses and actually riding them and stuff. So there's some historical part to that. As far as where the book is, it's in final polishing editing. It's had its professional edit. We expect it out in about 2 weeks, and then will be uploaded and ready to begin pre-orders probably around September 1st, the first week of September, and then the actual ebook should be out in October, November timeframe, with the physical book out in early December. So that's where we are. But thanks, Thom. It's very interesting to get to see you for all this. And secondly, I had no idea you had that background of Southern stuff. I wish I'd have known that when I was writing the book.
So people can find more on our website at Nixon, Nixon, and Dovey, Dovey.com. We also have links there to our Facebook page and to our Twitter feed, and we'd like to have a conversation with you. When the book comes out, there's going to be some special features. We are starting on the website a special place called Reader's Corner, and there's going to be secret codes embedded in the book somewhere that you can enter into the Reader's Corner and have access to some things that maybe we wouldn't want to talk about if you haven't read the book, and also some privileged information. So we're excited. We'll be letting you know when the book is ready to go. And thank you, Thom, so much for your time. And we'll see everybody on our next Hangout, which should be very soon.
Great.
Thank you, and you guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Thom.
Okay. Bye-bye.